Hello crafters and welcome back. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD and today I have another Spellbinders video for you. So today I'm sharing the Spellbinders Stitchmas Christmas Collection. I have two pieces or two sets from the collection to share with you. And today we're going to be making a spinner card out of this beautiful stitched ornament die. So I'm so excited to show you how to make this card today. I also have a second card that I've created for this collection, which features the petal diamond stitch background. And you can see that I did a bunch of alternative stitching for these cards, and I'm so excited to show you the ornament one today. So these are the two dies. I have the stitched petal diamond background. This is a beautiful background, and I did do the stitching on this one. I'm not going to be showing that in this video. I will have a reel that I'll have on my on this YouTube channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll also have it on my Instagram account at DeeZinesByD. Now you could also use that panel without any stitching at all. It would look gorgeous. Now, we also have the stitched ornament. This is the one that I'm going to be using for today's card. You can see you not only get the stitched ornament, you get an outline die to cut that out. You've got some detail pieces along with some foliage that you can add to this. Now, it is important to note that when you're doing your stitching, you have to use size 22, so number 22 tapestry needles. I mean, you don't have to, but they work the best. I have some metallic thread that I'm going to be using today along with, this is some floss. I'm not actually going to be using that today. I'm just going to end up using some white thread. So here's the color scheme that I'm using. I've got all of my cardstocks out, and you're also going to need some either clear fishing wire or some clear thread on hand to make the spinner. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this ornament. Now to do that, I have to attach the outline to the stitching portion of this ornament. And then I'm going to cut it out of the red cardstock that I have here twice. So everything I'm doing, I'm pretty much going to have to do twice because this is the spinner piece that you're going to see the back and the front of. Now I'm taking some thread. I've got some white, plain white thread along with some gold metallic thread. I'm using this cool little threader, or this needle threader. I just stick the little wire through the needle hole, which is easy to do with the wire. Then I'm going to take my two pieces of thread, the gold and the white, and I'm going to stick it through the thin wire that went through the needle hole. And once I get it through, which is easier to do because you can kind of manipulate the wire a bit and make the hole bigger, I pull that piece out and it basically threads it through the needle. I love showing this technique every time that I do this. I'm pretty sure that those of you that are maybe not from my generation are probably looking at this and laughing, saying, oh dear, we used to do this all the time. But I just love it because it's just an easier way to thread, especially when you have more than one piece of thread for the flosses. It really helps. Now to start threading this, I'm looking at this oval and there are two dots right at the bottom. I'm going to go to the right of the two dots and I'm going to thread it through, and then I'm going to count 4 dots to the left and then thread it through the next dot. Okay, so once I've done this, I've got to fasten the back here. I have a knot tied into my string, so it should be fine, but I don't like how that little piece is overhanging, so I'm just going to tape it down with some clear tape. It's not a big deal. My needle can kind of pierce through that tape as I continue to thread. So now I'll go up one hole on the left side, and then I'm going to come back to the right. And then I'm just basically stitching lines back and forth. So I'm just going to continue creating this nice diagonal line up through that oval. And this is not really the way that it's meant to be stitched, but I like stitching all of these stitching dies in various different ways because it creates unique patterns. So I'm taking this up right to the top, and I'm going to continue until I have 4 dots or 4 holes left again, just like it is on the bottom, so that it's symmetrical. Now once I've done this, I'm going to come up just to the right side of the 2 holes at the top. I'll go through and then I'll come down, counting 4 holes, and go through the next hole. And now I'm going to be stitching these lines coming down diagonally, creating this kind of diamond pattern and this diamond type stitching. So now that I've done that on this side, all I have to do is take it to the back and kind of tape it off, or I can just continue to the next oval and continue to thread. Now I think my thread wasn't long enough here, and I kind of wanted to go to the next part of the ornament to do the normal stitching and just show you how I'd be doing that. So I did tie it off, and I'm adding some tape at the back here. Not necessary, but I think I was just thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to do another oval with the thread that I have. So I actually took this back in, and I'm doing the little, I guess you would call them starbursts that kind of come up from the center here. That's what I'm going to call them. I don't know what they're called. And I'm just going to stitch these regularly. So this is how you would normally stitch this. I'm not going to do anything fancy here. And by doing the alternate stitching on the ovals, and then doing the normal stitching here, you can see I'm getting two different patterns and some variation of stitching, which actually makes the stitching die a lot more interesting to look at when you're thinking of it in terms of art. So I'm just going to continue stitching this entire thing. You can see I've already done the 3 ovals in the center. Now I'm just working outwards at the top and bottom, and I'm going to continue doing my stitching in a in the standard way that you would stitch this pattern, in the way that it was meant to be stitched. So I've gone ahead and done basically the star stitch is what I like to call it, at the top and bottom there as well. And as I said, I've got to do this twice. So I've done it for both of those dies that I cut out. So now that I've got that done, you've got these beautiful detailed pieces that you can cut out with that die, and I've cut it out of some Sizzix Opulent Gold Mirror cardstock, and now I'm just going to attach it to my ornament pieces with some Barely Arts glue. And I'll show you how I put on the first piece. It really is not a big deal, pretty easy to do. Just stick it down, give it some time to adhere, and I'll do the same thing for the other 4 pieces. And you can see that adding this just makes it look so intricate and beautiful. Now, they do have the little topper that you put on the top of your ornament included in this die set, so I've cut that out. I had to cut that out 4 times. And once again, that's just because we're going to see the front and back of this ornament. So I've got to have, oh no, sorry, I don't need it 4 times. I need it twice. So once on each of these. So you can see once I put these together, that's what it's going to look like. Now let's go ahead and add our clear wire or clear thread, or as I said, you could use fishing wire. I'm using some really strong double-sided adhesive here, and I'm just laying it down in the center of one of the ornaments. You only really need one side of this. It is double-sided tape, so it's going to stick to the other side anyways. Now I'll remove the backing, and I will place a long piece of that thread, not too long, but long enough that you have a bit of extra on either side. And you can see my tape didn't go to the end of the ornament because it tapers off into a point. So I'm just adding a bit of Barely Arts glue, some liquid glue to either side right on top of the thread. And I'm going to carefully place the other side of the ornament on top. Make sure you're placing it on in the right way such that you have the topper for the ornament lined up with the topper of the other ornament. So the main thing I want to do here is make sure that that string is straight right through that ornament. It's got to sit straight at the top, and it's got to sit straight at the bottom, because if I don't do that, it's going to move too much and it's not going to spin properly on my card. So once I've got that done, I have to attach the rest of the ornament together so that it's one complete piece. Otherwise, you can kind of see into the middle of the 2 ornaments back to back. So I'm just adding some Barely Arts glue around the edge here. And you can use any type of glue you want, just as long as it's going to allow the ornament to adhere. So you can see here now it's completely adhered, and I'm holding my thread straight so you can see it moving nicely. Now I've also got this older Spellbinders die set, which came with an older Christmas kit. It's not available in the store anymore. Sorry guys, it's discontinued. But there are other sets like I think it's Christmas Blooms, that has these cute little poinsettias that you can use to cut those out. I've cut it out of some gold glitter cardstock along with some ivory. I think that's actually just some white cardstock. So I've kind of doubled those up and placed them on top of those little foliage pieces that come with the Stitch Ornament set that I've cut out of 2 different colors of green cardstock. And as you can see, I did the same thing on the other side. Remember, this is a spinner card, so everything you see on one side of the ornament, you're going to end up seeing on the other, so you're going to want to make both sides look good. I've added my little gem on the flowers here because I want it to dry nicely before I attach my spinner piece. Now let's work on the card base. I've got a card base in white that's 5x7, and then I've also got this piece of gold pearl cardstock. This is some Sizzix Opulent cardstock. It shines like a gold shimmer. And now I'm using the Essential Ovals dies from Spellbinders to cut an oval in the center because I need an opening to place my spinner. And what I'm going to do, I'm cheating here. I found that this method worked best. I've kind of attached with some washi tape. This is temporary because I haven't fully glued it on here. I've attached it to the front of the card where I want it, exactly with the nice frame around the edge, and I'm placing my die on top exactly where I want it and taping it down with a bit of washi tape as well. So now I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine a couple times, and it's not only going to cut that top layer, that shimmer cardstock, it's going to cut through the white card base layer so that I don't have to worry about cutting this twice, kind of lining it up and then die cutting it through the white cardstock and making sure that it all lines up. So this was the quick and simple, easy way to do this. It cut both ovals in one go and everything lines up perfectly. So now I can kind of fold this over and you can see that that pearlized frame is going to go on the top. And then I'm going to add a third piece, which is going to make this card a trifold. I thought that was very important because I have a large opening. So what I did was I cut this piece of cardstock, which is 5 1/4 by 7 inches. Then I scored it at 1/4 inch so that I get a 1/4 inch fold here. I've added some strong double-sided adhesive to that fold. And now all I have to do is line it up with the solid piece of card that doesn't have the cut through the center. Take off the release paper from that double-sided tape and then just fold down that little flap to create a perfect trifold card. And as I said, there's a big opening where the oval is, so this is kind of important so that you can write a sentiment, you can add a sentiment, write a message inside, and it's not going to be seen through the front. So it has a nice finished look. So that's how it folds nicely. You can do your writing inside and have your little spinner on the front. Now I'm going to reach for my Spellbinders Loops embossing folder. This is a beautiful embossing folder. I probably didn't need to do it, but I wanted to add a little bit of texture to that frame that I cut out. So I'm just going to emboss that oval frame, the pearlized shimmer piece of cardstock. And now for my sentiments, I'm using the Elegant Holiday Glimmer Sentiment set. I'm using some extra little scrap pieces that I have. This is some matte gold foil, and I'm going to foil this sentiment from our family to yours, and I'll cut it out with this banner die, which is from the birthday unboxing glimmer set. I showed this in my last video. It's just there from the last release, and I find that this banner die comes in handy. It's just the perfect size for all of these little sentiments that come from the older glimmer sets that don't actually have a coordinating banner die. So there's a little tip for you. So that's cut out nicely out of some pink cardstock. And now I've got these sentiments. So as I mentioned, these sentiments were cut with some dies from an older card kit. And I have this Artist Tack permanent dry adhesive. So this is my little secret. I love this stuff. In the pack, you get 25 pieces of these, so 25 sleeves with adhesive on it. This lasts a long time, I'm telling you. I've had this for a year and I've only used 5 of these pieces. And I'm still using them. So what you do is kind of stick your little intricate die cut on top here, put down the tops, release paper and press it down, and it picks up all of the sticky on the back, all of the adhesive, and it makes it a sticker. So now all I have to do is kind of stick it to my other die cut piece, and I'll do the same with the top layer, which is the glitter piece. I try to do the glitter pieces at the end because it will leave some glitter behind and it'll get stuck on the rest of the adhesive. Best part about this adhesive paper is that you can use it over and over again. And you can see I moved these die cuts over a couple times because once you've used it a few times, there'll be places that are missing some adhesive because you used it for previous stickers. And you just got to do it a few times to make sure that you've got the entire back covered. Now, to make sure that it's not going anywhere and completely put in place, you see I just put it underneath that paper and just burnished it with my scoring tool. So there are the two pieces, Holiday Cheer, and you can see now they have a little bit of thickness to them to add to my card. Now let's go ahead and put together the spinner. So now I've opened up my card fully to the front. I'm adding some strong double-sided adhesive again, just at the top and bottom of that oval where I'm going to attach the thread. So first things first, I've added the tape there. I'm also going to add it along the frame, and I don't release that double-sided tape, okay? I'll get to that in a second. First, I'm only going to release those two pieces on the top and bottom of the oval. I'll then center my ornament and stick down those pieces of thread. Make sure that it's taut, but not too tight, otherwise it will move. Now I'm just going to take the end of my jewel picker and I'm going to push that thread right down into that adhesive. Like I'm literally pushing it right down into it so that it sticks really well and it's not going anywhere. And then there's extra string, remember? So what I do is I fold it into a bit of a loop and I still attach it there. And I think this is just a little bit of a trick for spinner cards so that that string doesn't get released and come undone somehow. That little extra loop that I added just here and cut off the excess is, I think, key to make sure that these don't come apart. So, and that's from experience. I've done this before and it came apart. So this is the little trick to keep it there. Now you can see I've wound up the spinner and it spins nicely. So always double check that and make sure it's good before you attach your top piece, because then you can still kind of fix it. So now I've added some Tombow dot runner. I didn't release the strong double-sided adhesive. I'm adding the frame on top, and once I've got it where I want it, and I know I can still kind of jimmy it around to make sure the border's good, I'll get it good, get the frame good, and then I take off the release paper from either side from the strong double-sided adhesive, and then it's not going anywhere. So now let's wind this up and check it again. Oh, that spins so nicely. So we know that we've got it in place. I'm just kind of pressing down on that tape at the top and bottom just to make sure it's good to go. And now I'll use that Artist Tack dry adhesive to attach these thick sentiments to the top here. I love making sentiments thick like this. It gives them so much more dimension. It just kind of sits up on your card and stands out a little more. Now I'm adding that sub sentiment on the pink cardstock, which I think it looks real stunning with the red. I think that adding a little bit of pink is perfect. So I've added it with foam tape, and now I'll just kind of jazz this up a little with some Pink Fresh Studio Ballet Slipper jewels. These are some nice light pink jewels, and it just ties in that pink sentiment strip from the bottom with the rest of the card. Now I'm also going to add a bunch of jewels and gems to the ornament. So I didn't really want to do this ahead of time because I didn't want them to all come off while I was trying out the spinner. Now that I've got the spinner all in place, I'll go ahead and add a bunch of little gems in the little areas of that intricate little outline on the top and bottom of the ornament, and also in the centers of some of the stitching. Now, once again, remember, whatever I've done on one side, I have to do on the other side. So I'll also do it on the other side of the ornament. But before I do that, I'll do that kind of off camera because I've already shown you that. I'll show you how I put together these extra little pieces on the inside. So whenever I have extra die cut pieces, I go ahead and add them to the inside of my card, adding a little bit of interest to the inside and coordinating the inside with the outside. So I've added those extra little pieces of foliage and the two other poinsettias that I put together and didn't quite use on the front. And then I also added a few more gems. So now I've got that card completely done on the inside, and I've got the little jewels all on the front, and everything just kind of matches and goes together. So that's how the final card looks. Now let's wind this up and test it out. So you'll wind this up before you put this card into the envelope. You put it in, your recipient pulls it out, and oh, there's the spinner. Now let's go ahead and try this again because I want to see what it looks like when you just, look at the front of the card. So we've spun it. Oh, and that's how pretty it looks when it spins. So all of the little jewels pick up some light and they shine when it spins. Now here's a second card that I made. You can see I did some alternate stitching on this. So the actual florals in that light orange and dark orange are what they should be. And then the other ones, I made some kind of diamond flowers and stitched those a little differently, added some gems, and that's my second card. Now, I don't show you that in this video, but I will have a reel that I will post on Instagram and on here on my YouTube channel tomorrow. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to see that, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at DeeZinesByD. I hope you've been inspired to create something similar yourself, and go ahead and check out these products. They're linked within my blog in the description below. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you again with the next collection. Bye.